Well, hey there, and welcome to Simply Awake. I'm John Labman, as some of you may know. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit more about being a zombie or being an automaton or a robot. In other words, uh, nowadays you might say being a political ideologue, either left or right, is similar to being a lemming or an automaton or a zombie. Why? Well, I'm using colorful language because it gets your attention, I've discovered. But I'm also very interested to see that the form of education we all got growing up, which was you listen to the teacher and you take the test and you don't ask a lot of questions, so you can grow up and be a nice cog in the industrial or corporate wheel of the Western world, doesn't teach us very much about how to think for ourselves, how to be critical thinkers, how to challenge anyone else's thoughts, and even how to challenge our own thoughts. In fact, we basically are taught to be in thrall or in slavery to the thoughts of the so-called leader or teacher. This can translate into the politician, the president, the cabinet member, the local politico, the billionaire with a big mouthpiece, anybody who has a lot of power and looks like they're on a platform. We start to mimic them. And then if we are in particular enthralled with the legacy news media, who more and more people are discovering are full of BS, then we are likely mouthing the words of somebody from the New York Times or Fox News or the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post or NPR or somebody like that. And I read a lot of news. I have to confess. I spent a couple hours yesterday trying to catch up on news. And I actually use a site called ground.news. Not that this is an ad for them, nor are they promoting my content. But I like them because they tell me who owns the news media that I'm reading. And they tell me whether they tend to lean so-called right, center, or left. Although those words are also full of their own weird connotations. Can't really define what that means. Oh, what does conservative right-wing person think? What does a progressive left-leaning liberal person think? You don't like those labels? Tough, we're going to put you in one of those boxes. Oh, really? You think so? No, I refuse to go into one of those boxes, and so should my listeners. Repeating verbatim or paraphrasing what you hear from authority figures makes you a zombie, or an automaton, or a robot, or a lemming, or a sheeple. Somebody's going to lead you by the nose into repeating what they say. And being a cult survivor, having lived 7 years in a brainwashing cult in my early 20s, after a college education, mind you, I can tell you that people all over the place would love to con you into thinking that their words are going to get you somewhere, that their truths coming out of their mouths are the truth, that somehow God speaks only through them, and you better listen to them, or you're not going to get enlightened, or you're going to go to hell, or you're going to end up on the wrong side of the political spectrum, or you're going to be unpopular with your neighbors, yada, yada, yada. So I want to tell you that listening to other people, although we were taught to do that as students in school, is not the way to be a human being and to be a spontaneous human being and to be your own unique human being. It's the way to be a lemming or a zombie. You want to follow somebody else off a cliff? Be my guest. I would caution you against it, though. What about looking at evidence, thinking for yourself, actually looking for source documents when somebody tells me, oh, X says that they did Y? Well, where's the information that I can see? Where's the source document? Where's the unedited, un-AI adapted script or video or record of this event actually having taken place? Don't have it? Then maybe you're just peddling some snake oil to me or some bunkum to try to make me believe what you have to say. Well, at this age, I've kind of believed about as many people like that as I care to. And I would urge you to similarly stop repeating what you hear from other people and start noticing they don't have much evidence for what they say. In fact, most of the news that you read is analysis, opinion, or prediction. There isn't even a lot of factual information in the so-called news, especially if it's on some cable news network. So what does this have to do with spiritual enlightenment? Well, everything. Because the other thing is, if you learn to listen to them, whose voice do you think is ringing in your head that you think is your own? Whose words are churning up in your mind that you think are your own words? They're not your words. They're somebody else's words. Where did they come from? Probably some random memory that you have from somebody who said something to you at some point. You think because this thought is happening in your head that it must be true. But I'm here to tell you that 90 to 99% of the thoughts that occur in your head are false. In fact, from one point of view, all thoughts are nonsense, because thought is occurring 1 second after the moment when it actually, on what it's actually reporting about. Well, let me try to say that a little better. So if I pinch my skin and go, ouch, by the time my brain registers that the skin is pinched and there's been pain and I say the word ouch, there's already a second interval, a second's worth of time, in other words, between the sensation and my reporting of it. So actually all words are nonsense. Nonetheless, I recognize that you have to use words in life, and so do I. That's how we humans seem to communicate. We make a reality together with our words, where the sun rises in the morning and sets at night. It doesn't rise at night and set in the morning. We have all kinds of expressions that we've never thought about that are just commonly agreed upon phrases. So at least we want to get as close to the subjective truth of what's happening as we can. And words can be closely objectively true, or close to the objective truth. But most of the words that are generating up here aren't necessarily true and are often from another source. So you're actually getting pulled around by ideas that aren't even yours, instead of interacting with three-dimensional reality in this present moment using your senses. And even your emotional life is mediated by this brain that's trying to say, oh, well, I'm feeling this because of this. Well, sometimes you can know that, but oftentimes you don't know where the feeling is coming from either. You're just pretending you do. So when you're pretending, or when your life is run by stuff coming from your mind, you're going to be running on autopilot. You're going to be running on zombie energy, or automaton energy, or lemming energy, or sheeple energy. You know, you're running over that cliff believing something that your mind is telling you is true, which you've never even stopped to ask, is this actually true? Oh my gosh, what if it's not actually true? What if, for instance, when I turn 70, it doesn't actually, mean anything? Phone was ringing. How about that? Right during a broadcast. Never happens. Well, it just did, so I guess it does happen sometimes. Well, so what happens if I stop believing my thoughts, and I stop believing their thoughts, and I stop believing what's being told to me? Well, I start having direct experiences of reality, And I start noticing my own spontaneous response to what's happening in reality. And if I don't come from some preconceived notion of what I have to do because somebody said so when I was 5 or 15, or somebody on the news just said so, I might actually have an authentic, spontaneous, non-lemming, non-zombie moment where I'm a real live human being who has a creative and curious response. Wouldn't that be novel? So if you're going to live a spiritual life, one of the first things you've got to do is to start to challenge the veracity or truthfulness of the thoughts in your head and the thoughts that other people are presenting to you. Stop mimicking what other people are saying. Stop doing what they're doing because they tell you to do it, and take a look for yourself. You are intelligent enough to figure out what's actually, even subjectively, because words are subjective, even subjectively true. Like, you are smart enough to go outside and feel what the temperature's like and not have to rely on the weatherman to tell you you need an extra coat today. You are smart enough to figure out that a lot of the legacy media have been lying through their teeth to us, whether they're called conservative or liberal and progressive, that, they're not telling you the truth. Neither are the manufacturers that tell you that you need to buy products or you won't smell good, your breath will stink, and people will run screaming from the room every time you enter. This is all called propaganda. And propaganda is what makes zombies and automatons and lemmings and sheeple. And truth is what sets you free. Truth is what you are intrinsically. And truth, therefore, feels better to your body, even the subjective truth of words, than BS from other sources or even from your own head. So look for the truth. What's actually true, either subjectively with words, or what's the actual experience of this moment if you take all the words off? What's going on? Leave you with that one for today. This is John Labman signing off from Eastern Pennsylvania. Have a wonderful and fascinating and uniquely yourself kind of day.